United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, roll call is our first thing. Miss Amby, if you would, please.
John Condon,
Here.
Jason Connell,
Here.
Jason Tarnow,
Here.
Gary Tilson,
Here.
and Lawrence.
Here. Okay, next on the agenda is our. Let's see. Next on the agenda is our minutes from the February 12th, 2026 regular meeting. I move to approve the minutes from February 12th. A second. Any changes or corrections to them? Any discussion on them? None. All in favor of the minutes from February 12th signify aye. 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 All opposed. Minutes passed 5-0. Any changes to our agenda? From anybody? No changes? Okay, we'll move on. Public comments on agenda items only for 3 minutes. Our agenda items, if you didn't get a copy, are the solar ordinance amendment for battery storage systems, status update on our zoning ordinance 78 review project, and we have a public hearing coming later for a zoning ordinance for temporary moratoriums. Present. Any comments? None? Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Old business, that would be the solar ordinance amendment, battery storage system that Gary Tilson's been working on. We had a workshop and come up with a very rough draft. And Gary has been working from that to get us to a more finished point. Gary, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. So I don't know if everybody's got a copy. This is a rough draft. This is in a lot of ways, as important, maybe more important than our regular solar ordinance because of all the potential and even likely hazardous related events that come from these battery energy storage. The danger level is much heightened. Full disclosure, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty good at reading other people's stuff and learning. So I've got a 10-page document that's a rough draft. There's a couple things that we can make decisions on here, and then I'm going to spend the next couple of days taking input and modifying, because I received some really useful input from Dr. Stephanie Brett and from Caitlin. And we also have a document, the planning and zoning for battery energy storage systems, that there's a few things in here that I, in review, should be added. So for starters, the 10-page document, simple definitions, which are on page 1. And then I'm not going to go through all 10 pages, but in detail, there's type 1 and type 2. Okay, and we got to decide, and I know we've loosely discussed it, but type 1 is basically your residential. We other township that I shared their information defines a type 1 as a 600 kilowatt or smaller, and anything over 600 kilowatts as being more commercial and utility scale. The document I got from Stephanie's at 1 megawatt, which it's not much of a difference. So I don't know if that's one thing that we got to decide is 600 below and above, 1 megawatt below and above. They're only 400 kilowatts different in the whole scheme of things when you're talking about 100, potentially 100, 125, 150 megawatts. It's not that much of a difference. So we don't need to necessarily dwell on that. But do we want to have the type 1, the residential, in our ordinance, or remove it completely? It's it's not, in the other ordinances that I've read, that particular part about residential, it's not a very popular, heavily used thing. And it's not, there's not as many overriding regulations to monitor it because the risk is much smaller. So I don't know if anybody has an opinion on whether we have the type 1 and type 2 in our ordinance or just the type 2, which is the industrial.
Is the installation and is that all governed under state regulation for electrical codes, all that stuff?
Yes.
Okay. So
You get an electrical permit. It still is the township inspector, still has to be inspected.
yeah, so
But generally, if somebody's doing it, they get 3 or 4 batteries that maybe will hold collectively 8 to 10 kilowatts,
yeah,
you know, and it's only, you know, if you have solar panels on your residential anyway, and you were in the net metering system, you probably don't need batteries anyway, because your excess generation is going back on the grid, your consumer's bill keeps track of that. And then during cloudy times, you use the credit back. So it's not very popular. It's just, and I don't think there's anything wrong with leaving it in there. It's not that big a deal, but we did discuss it last time, so I just wanted to respect everybody else.
if it doesn't hurt any, I think we should concentrate on the higher part, but
95% of this is.
yeah, so
It's only about a half a page that's dedicated to the type 1. Okay.
Would it benefit us in the type 1? My thought is we're kind of referring to it as residential. What if we, in the future had I'm gonna use the business that I go by all the time up here on Saginaw Road. It's a gardening shop, I think, Jason, you're probably familiar maybe with the guy who's got all the solar panels on the south side of his building. Well, that's a commercial application, not residential. But what if he wished to put some battery storage system in there for his own use?
I see what you're saying. It's not residential and it's not,
Not
it's a commercial
industrial.
use, but that's why if we draw the line at either 600 kilowatts or 1 megawatt,
Yeah,
the word residential, commercial, that doesn't matter. It's where do we want that cut off? Anything. I think probably the 600 kilowatts is a good dividing line. Because that's a lot of battery storage, actually.
Okay.
Even a shopping center like over here, you know, on Vienna Road down there, the other side of Dixie, where you got the Dollar General and all that. If they collectively, the landlord said he was going to put in a battery storage to operate that, maybe 400 to 500 kilowatts would be run that whole thing.
okay.
so we're talking.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to rule anybody out.
No,
If
no.
a business wanted to put in and they get in a situation where they need something bigger, they come back and say this.
Yeah, they got to go for a variance.
Yeah.
For the ZBA that way to.
Yeah, especially if you set the threshold there. Yes, if you wanted to do more, you'd come for a variance and say, hey, look, I'm gonna be at 12.
I mean, first they're gonna have to spend the money on a solar system run all day before they think about.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's just something that popped up.
Thanks for that. And then we go into, I didn't number the pages. We got separate sections. And after reading the input from others, I already detected things that I need to be more robust. And I'll get to those here in a minute. The code compliance, I think I've captured everything. The setbacks, I got a question that I'm gonna address the group to with. And then the decommissioning plan, we have to discuss. Some numbers around the decommissioning plan. And I think Stephanie answered my question on all regulatory compliance, and she's got a beautiful section that I'm gonna cut the paste and put in there because she captured all that. So I think I've got about 90% of it. Here's the things that I'd like to discuss. And I'll start with Stephanie's document to that she's given us thought-provoking questions. Right. I've got in there the 300-foot setback on property lines. What I don't have in there is minimum half-mile setback for residences, schools, and public buildings. And I know which section I would add it to. And as I'm pondering that and knowing the threat of that, half a mile is not that far. And I think that's reasonable to add that any living being would want to be at least half a mile from one of these. I just want some feedback on that. I didn't add it, but I flagged it. It's a half-mile setback from residences, schools, and public buildings.
Could I ask, and perhaps to Stephanie, where did you get that half mile from?
Got that just from different suggestions at that time. That was
Yeah.
what, about a year ago, so.
Any actual completed document from any municipality anywhere?
I don't remember which one it was.
I'm just curious. I mean, I don't want to jump too far out into the, where you could be
Well,
challenged.
no, too far out would be 20 miles from an area.
Right.
I am a little bit of that somewhere, but being more realistic, if you look at videos on a battery energy storage system fire, and you look at the data showing that the probability of a fire in a battery energy system over time approaches and exceeds 99%, depending on how many megawatts. These things catch on fire. I don't want one within a mile of my house. I almost think that's too close. Okay. So the problem is we're not out in the middle of Nevada and Arizona and New Mexico where you've got 50 mile by 50 mile big open pieces of land. So a mile is more reasonable. And I know that it's going to be viewed as so restrictive that so we're trying to strike a balance, and half a mile is not that far. When you see the size and the ferocity of these fires, you don't want your kids and your family anywhere. You want them at least half a mile away from one of these. So this isn't your garage catching on fire. This is forest fire type stuff.
Yeah.
So you guys okay with adding that we do half a mile?
Yes, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Because the finished product has got to go to the attorney anyway.
Yeah.
And for review.
All right. Second thing is and co-locate. You have potentially these large scale solar fields. Secondary is a battery energy storage system. They're the size of a 1, 2, or 3 or 4 football fields. A lot of debate. Better for the company to save money to put them together. The risk become exponential. So we got to decide if yes or no. They can co-locate or they cannot. And the reason is the risk. And number 2, it's a whole different set of regulations, training, fire suppression required if they're together. And I'm just kind of stuck on this one.
And when you mean the battery and the actual
Solar
and the panels, so
Yeah.
the proximity of each
co-located. So I'm torn. On one hand, it's if you're going to dirty up an area, and my words, nobody else's, dirty up an area with solar panels, you might as well put if we're going to be forced to have a battery storage, you might as well put it with it. But looking at the risk, I think the risk is too high.
Let me ask you this: when they do that, do they put the battery storage outside, or do they put it internally within the middle of the panels? So if you got a half mile of panels, did they put the battery storage in the center of this? And the solar's around the perimeter, or do they set it off to the side?
The ones I've seen were adjacent. Well, I mean, they were, so let's just say you got, 500 acres, solar panels, and this would be, driveway between.
Yeah,
Not in the middle.
you know why they do that, or just from the east?
Access.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
coming and going.
Like the connection.
Just logistics.
Well, and the reason I asked that question that way is if I had to have them together, that's how I'd want it in the center. Because you're still gonna have to have all the fire exits, but it's more contained because the panels now, maybe the panels catch on fire, make it worse. I don't know that. Does the situation become worse because now I don't know. But from a containment standpoint, I like it in the center. If that's something we can restrict, or maybe we can't, I don't know.
From a project engineering perspective,
There you go.
I believe that they would never want to do that. If they have 2,200 acres and a 3 mile by 3 mile area, and they're collecting and all that's going to the battery storage, that's almost a secondary business to what this particular group of 300 acres of solar panels are doing. They're feeding that. You're gonna have some design issues with the flow of the electricity. So it wouldn't be in the middle. I like that thought. I don't know, really what it does, but I don't think they would ever do that. I don't think that it would make sense.
And you're right, and it could be in two independent LLCs or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're doing the battery.
They might sell one, keep one.
That's what I mean. So in that case, they would not do it.
It's gonna be a hard divide.
Interesting.
So really stuck on this one. I just don't know,
What if we,
I'd like to say that, cannot co-locate. Just because of the risk. These fires, I'll tell you, it'll scare the hell out of you.
just for a thought, what if we required it, we're looking at a setback 300 feet from property already. What if we required any battery storage system be located on a separate parcel? Now, that doesn't mean that XYZ company can't own a 500-acre parcel that they've got solar panels on. If they only have solar panels on, say, 50% of that acreage, and they hold a lease on it, they could go to the leaseholder, come to the township, I want to split the parcel. So I've got to move, assuming that maybe I have fenced in the whole thing, maybe I haven't, but if we tell them we have to split the parcel, then it's gonna have to set 300 feet back from the existing solar field.
So at a minimum, they'd be 600 feet apart, because now that 300 feet, well, it depends. I mean, the state says only 50 feet, so it'd only be 50 feet. And then 300 feet from the border, so it'd be 350 feet.
350 feet from the nearest solar panel, all the way around, conceivably. This is just a thought, so we're not making it exclusionary, that they cannot do it. It's just, it may cost them, because in looking at some of the plans that we've seen right now, they're not using the entire parcel, which, leaves some leeway, or maybe they lease another parcel across the street. I don't know, maybe we're shooting ourselves in the foot by making them get more land rather than split off what they've got. I'm just throwing that out there as a consideration. I don't know which would be a better way to go. Where we just require that they're 300 feet from any other solar panels. As far as the setback,
We don't have a completed ordinance from someone. I'm just wondering if anyone's addressed that.
Just one, Saline Township. And they mention it, but they don't address it. This topic, and I see Eric nodding over there, I'm like, Of our 24,000 acres and our remaining 3,400 or whatever that's not developed in the township. And they're already asking for 2,100. When I think about this and the other things potentially coming, like, and if we're not careful, we've got a gas plant consumers wants to put in over here. We've got data centers. We've got battery energy storage systems, which if they generate 125, and then that's phase one. We don't know what phase two and phase three look like. Another 125, which requires another battery energy storage system. Before you know it, Thetford Township's 3,400 acres is gone. And we're just an industrial complex with people who happen to live here and meander in and out of the solar fields. I don't want to digress too much, but I'm trying to figure out, okay. Ideally, if we've got to give up this many acres for solar, then you either have to, you got to work within that confine. You want to use some of that, for battery energy storage and give up some of your solar panels, okay, but not more.
I like that. I like that theory. That way you're sticking, and it still gives them the option, but they can't say, no, you can't have it. If you want to use it, you got the space, you can cut it to where you need to make it happen.
I mean, I'm fully prepared, and believe me, Stephanie and I talk about this, to make the argument that if we're gonna overrun Michigan with massive solar fields and give up prime land, then we gotta share the pain across the state. We don't have that much land here. And we're gonna have to share the pain across the state. Everybody's gonna have to share the pain if that's the way we're going. And so what do you guys think about me wording it to where we put it? The battery energy storage systems can coexist 300 feet from the border of an existing designated solar field within the confines of the agreed and approved upon number of acres, something along those lines. No additional acres. Within these acres, it can butt up. Basically, it's going to have to be on a separate parcel. Could be adjacent, but it's got to be 300. Still got to be 300 feet from the border of that. This is the part. I mean, I'm just being open disclosure. I've been trying to read everything I can. That battery storage system catches on fire. Those solar fields are too close. This is like having a dynamite plant next to a TNT plant. Okay. This is why you want to put them apart. How far apart? It's 350 feet, and you got to have some separation.
Maybe they ought to be set next to the person that's leasing his property.
Yeah, and
Let him deal with it.
yeah, right in his backyard.
Yeah, I think you should, that wording, come up with some other kind of wording like that, and we'll have, gonna have the returning review it for if it's, when you can word it that way. So I'm fine with that language. That he just needs to have the idea of what you want to get across, so.
Okay.
Or you word it so he knows what you mean.
Gonna start with, I know what I mean. Everybody else.
Kevin, a thought just came to my mind, sort of the zoning board of appeals. Maybe you guys should consider what kind of variances they would ask for on the zoning board of appeals, so that you know what their preemptive ask would be. And by knowing what that preemptive ask might be, then you now know how to draft the language better. Okay, one way or the other, doesn't matter. Obviously, like you pointed out, Gary, if you make it too restrictive, then they're gonna complain that it's too restrictive or that it doesn't meet their. But if you if you make it where it's workable for them, or you make it where you, like, if they were to say, well, we would need to ask the zoning board for a variance to put this battery storage here and this one here, because we want it at the corner of two fields so it can access the grid, quicker. Keep in mind that all the questions that they're gonna ask are gonna be financially driven.
Oh, sure.
So it's gonna be, the distance and the amount of copper, lines from, to the excess of the grid and just things like that. Store up my 2 cents.
You're
You're doing a great job.
you're right on, believe me. The most economical way, if I'm the company, is to block out a 20-mile by 20-mile square in the middle of Michigan and cover the whole thing. And then put battery plants all around it, and abracadabra, that's your lowest cost. Copper wire, whether is expensive, and it adds cost, the more dense. It's not good for the people that live here. It's not good for the risk. It's not good for property values. It's not good for everything we've talked about for the last 3 years. So, and believe me, when we're talking to Lansing in April, I'm fully prepared. They have got to take a good hard look at Buick City and you see spark plug and turnstiles, because that stuff is already ripe and ideal and set up for this. It doesn't need to be out here on prime farmland. That's not used for anything. But your point's well taken. It's 207 acres is what I add up that they're so far. When you say ask, they won't tell. Like I said, we're playing cards with something that we show in our hand and all we know is that's phase one. We have no idea what their intentions, but we know there are intentions because there's other companies that are going around and knocking on doors and looking for land. So we know this is only phase one. So your point's well taken, but it's a question that's just going to fall on deaf ears, and you're just going to get a dumb look back because they're not going to tell you. So I'll come up with something on that. But thank you for that.
Yeah.
What if we went into the property line portion of the setbacks and somehow figured in non-participating property lines, where if they were to build on land that they're already leasing, then we could have a setback from existing solar panels so many feet, and then the rest of it would be 300 feet from non-participating property lines, which would maybe push you. I'm trying to graph that non-participating part that they were using a lot of their language in 233 and stuff and in solar ordinances.
Sorry, I it's not inappropriate, but I just want to tell you one thing that might help your conversation a little bit, which is like 240 megawatt facility is only 8 to 15 acres. So when you're talking about pretty big setbacks, these are much more compact than any kind of solar. So I wouldn't say it's like as unreasonable to think about splitting parcels bigger setbacks, because they don't need that much acreage compared to, let's say, solar.
So an acre is 43,560 square feet. So if it's 10 to 15 acres, if it was 300 feet on all sides of that, what are you adding? You're not adding much. You're only adding 3 acres around the perimeter. 2.7 acres, that's not much.
Yeah.
You're not adding much. You need 15 acres, you only need a 17.8% acre field. That's not unreasonable at all. It's not like it's gonna be sitting in a bit, sitting out in the middle of a 100-acre field, and that's only 15 acres. We're not adding much. They have 300 feet around the edge. Still half a mile away from people who live near
Let's go with that, and then that's something that can be tweaked, as it goes through review with the attorney, and it goes through review with Wade Trim, it's gonna pass both of them. And see how they feel compared with other things that they know, and then it's a number. It's just a number. We can change the number, but we've got the word in there that we want.
All right. Very good. 300 foot. Next. And we talked about this a year and a half ago. When something happens, when a crisis happens, that's the worst possible time to realize you don't have the first aid kit, you didn't get the batteries for your flashlight, and you didn't put any propane fuel in for your backup generator. Well, New York learned that when they realized they didn't have training for how to put out solar fire or battery fire. It took them 2 weeks and they're still dealing with it. So Stephanie brings up some excellent points. If we're to have not only solar fields here, which is going to require a whole new level of training that we don't have here at Thetford or Forest Township because of the level of the lithium ion and the quantity. It's proposed that the operator pay for professional training, not only for lithium ion, but also for the hydrogen fluoride, which is not even discussed in a lot of that. And that training is very, very specific training. We don't have any. I'd be surprised if we had anybody in Genesee County that was licensed to train somebody in that. So it's hydrogen fluoride, but also the lithium ion large quantity. So my simple question is, the operator pay for annual training for the affected fire departments? That would be Vienna Township, Genesee Township, Arbela Township, Thetford Township, and Forest Township, because if the thing's big, we don't have the manpower and resources, we're going to be calling area fire departments. So it would be all 5 townships would have to have annual training in that.
And I think you can go one step further. It would be not unusual for to require compensation for the additional equipment for lithium battery fires. I think you could definitely ask for that and incorporate that same language into the solar ordinance if we don't already have it. Because it's not unusual to require them to, you're going to have this and we have to put out the fires, you need to train us and provide additional income for that specialized equipment. That would be not unusual.
Good point, John. So there's a lot of things we have in here about alerts and notifications. That's each fire department is going to, at a minimum, going to have that new hardware, software, and communication in each of their fire departments. And it may have to be something where it's on their phone or it's on something else. So I don't think that's unreasonable to say any additional cost with the local fire departments incurred is paid for by the best operator.
Yeah. I agree. And I don't think that's an unusual request. If you want to put something that's not within our normal fire capacity, then, you know.
All right, decommissioning. I have in there that they have to fund the decommissioning. I didn't put any numbers in. Language proposed that I could add, I just want to see what you think. Mandatory decommissioning fund, 125% of the estimated cost, adjusted every 5 years. Parent company liability, as well as the LLCs. And this is something we've been talking about, trying to get our hooks into the liability shared by the parent company. They create these liabilities, don't put any assets in the LLC, and something that they walk away, so they walk away. So with language that parent company sign off, in addition to the LLC, $5 million minimum liability insurance per incident. I don't think that's unreasonable at all. That's small money, $5 million on health policies, $12 a year. That's small. And if you start thinking about, it wouldn't take long to spend $5 million if a couple dozen houses are torched, with the potential deaths involved.
Yeah, I think that was Caitlin's recommendation
Yeah.
too, was 5 million.
Yeah, 5 million, and then $10,000 per day for non-compliance. We would decommission it. Good. Good, I appreciate your patience. Okay, we already got it, address the type 1 and type 2. The location we've done. And all the mandatory fire suppression systems, the shut-off mechanisms have to be reviewed and approved. I believe that our local fire departments, at some point, if this starts to gel into start to look like reality, are going to have to quickly get on board and get involved in this. And they're going to have to be part of the process step by step, because the fire aspect of this, from one perspective, turns out to end up being 90% of it. So your fire department has got to be on board from day one.
The chief's in full ready to participate in any meetings regarding fire of these. And while you're there, I was, looking at fire safety compliance plan, and it says compliant with the fire code. And although I'm currently trying to get the International Fire Code adopted, my question currently would be, would this language cover the code? Would that cover any code we had?
Well, Stephanie and I talked about that, and she's given me the numbers.
Okay.
So there's, and tell me if we didn't catch them. These are the ones that compliance with accredited safety codes. All battery energy storage systems must follow the safety and fire protection standards. NFPA 855, which is the biggie. NFPA 70, the National Electrical Code. NFPA 72, UL 9540 and 95 UL 9540A. The IEEE 1547, and then the International Fire Code Chapter 12, which I think is the blanket.
Okay, yeah.
That Chapter 12 is a blanket that I think our local fire department would be the most tuned into. So if I know you're working on your end to get that, they adopt that would be captured under the Chapter 12.
In Vienna and the city already have. We're actually only 3 out of the municipalities that have not adopted the International Fire Code.
So it's probably coming, most likely.
I'm hoping so, because I think that would give us some leverage for them to comply with the article you just described. Whatever that entices, the roads, the sides, the turnaround, the fire suppression, whatever that, they would have to comply.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm interested in.
And because none of us are experts on these codes, the catch-all in case something fell through the cracks was also Michigan building and fire codes and local fire codes. Most likely, the international standards are going to be a higher level, but just in case there's something at a Michigan at a local level that is a higher standard, any application has got to be in compliance with the highest standard, whether it's local, Michigan, or federal.
And because of the battery storage things, even the International Fire Code may have changes coming, which is perfect because they would have to comply with whatever it is once it's adopted. So.
Okay, that was Stephanie's. And then tonight I'm going to go through Caitlin's. I did it 2 days ago, and I think I got 80% of it in there, but I'm going to review it again and capture that. And then I'm going to read this book again and see if there's any of the regulatory agencies that I've missed. But I think with Stephanie's great help, I think they've all been captured. So that's my initial blush at it. Any feedback?
Not just me personally, I appreciate all the work you're doing and doing that. That's a lot of homework to get down and put down so that we can try to digest them all. So I appreciate it.
Done a great job. It gives us a starting point to work from, rather than just a bunch of notes that we've had floating around for a while.
In closing, I know that as a as a planning commission, we feel a little bit under the gun to have something approved and in the books, and I feel every bit of that. Having said that, this topic is so important to scribble something down and rush it through and leave our residents in our township vulnerable because we didn't get the proper input. So that's why I'm doing everything I can to, I'll never be an expert on this, but to get as knowledgeable as I can to protect the township that we have captured everything. So I know we're in a rush to get it done, but man, this is important. So we, just gotta kind of grin and bear it for. I mean, this won't take me long to finish, but it's not gonna be ready for Monday's meeting or whatever your next
Oh, no,
meeting
no.
is.
No, I don't anticipate several months yet anyway. We still have to go through, once we get a draft that we all agree with.
I would say right now,
Process.
right now, what I have here, I would say is 80%. When I come back next month, I think it's 95%. I think we'll be awfully close.
Okay.
So I'll bring the next one back with all this input that I got from everybody, much closer to finished draft next month. Fair enough.
Very good.
Okay.
I'm satisfied. Any other comments from anybody? Everybody happy with where we're at? Yeah. Okay. We're looking forward to Gary next month. Guarantees us another meeting. Okay, item B is just a status update on the zoning ordinance 78 project. We had another meeting, worked through some more stuff. We have another meeting coming the first week of April. I don't remember the specific date now right off the top of my head. I think we're going to handle that one more on a Zoom level. We are falling behind. Caitlin reminded us of that, so we have to pick up our pace because we were on a projected September finish date, and we're not going to make that date if we don't concentrate a little harder in our committee work. So, committee, I believe, is this time going to meet over at the senior center and utilize their web connection over there with their screen TV. We've tried using this one and it's too difficult to interact with the people that are on coming in on Zoom as part of the committee and us sitting here on the floor. It's just not very cohesive to talk to each other. So we're going to try it and see what happens anyway. I can say I don't have the exact date. I know it's the first week of April, but I don't remember what date she picked. And looking at the calendar, I can't tell you either. Anyway, I will make sure that date's put out for everybody that wants to come in and sit in on it. Is it in the book?
It is.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was gonna hear if we put it in the book over here. April could get us access to the senior center and the senior director has given us permission to utilize them in the evening. The only evening they have people over there is Thursday nights. The rest of the time it's open. And like I say, this Zoom system here just was not working with people trying to connect. Two meetings in a row, we've tried to have some people connect with us and it hasn't worked out at all. It's just broken.
Kevin, for the benefit of those of us not familiar with ordinance 78, can you just give a 15-second overview of what ordinance 78 is?
Ordinance 78 is our what you would call our master zoning ordinance. It's what regulates everything that we do as far as residential setback zoning, what you can do on your property, what you can't do, what your neighbor can do, businesses that come in, what they have to comply with. We have landscaping ordinances in it and stuff like that. This ordinance hasn't been updated since 1989, same as our master plan was. So now that we have a new master plan, we have to bring our zoning ordinance up to date to agree with our master plan. So as we move forward, the last time we were working on, I believe, signs and stuff was part of what we were working on, and how signs are designated through the township. You know, you don't want neon billboards next to the road and stuff like that. It's just little stuff, but it's still stuff that does come up from time to time.
So it'd be the overarching catch-all.
Yeah,
ordinance,
yeah,
basically.
it's what we basically work with. When somebody comes in with a site plan and we pull up the ordinance and say, okay, you know, you have to comply with this and this and this, and you have to set back your driveway so far, or your business has to set back, and can't co-locate next to a residential area without, you know, maybe putting a berm or divider or something in there to, you know, it all goes back to everything we did in our master plan, so
When's the last time it was updated?
1989.
And just, the follow-up, the zoning relies on the information in there to decide how much of a variance to give. So
Yeah.
any of that accurate, a lot of that information had an ordinance, amending an ordinance. And it's very difficult for the zoning to say, oh, what the hell, what am I supposed to use with here? So this will clean that up.
Yeah, there's some areas in there that don't exist anymore, and some that conflict with each other. So we're,
So just like the master plan, 89, 99.
yeah,
So so it's just we're hurrying to make up for the 36-year recess and vacating it's taken place.
we're trying to get it to agree as soon as possible so that we don't end up trying to interpret something that we modernized in our master plan and it's still redundant in our zoning ordinance.
All right, thanks for that.
Anyway, okay, new business.
Caitlin, did you get the date? Or Caitlin? Amby, did you get the date?
It's not in the book. I thought it was, but
Yes,
it's.
I was thinking it didn't get put in the book, but we were going over here. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, we have a public hearing scheduled for an amendment to our zoning ordinance, which is old, but hey, this is part of the update, so we've got to get it in there. What it basically is, the MTA had a seminar on data centers specifically, and they dealt with Saline Township and their issues they had with their zoning problems there. And a lot of townships in the state now, because they're all getting hit with data centers, are passing moratoriums to not accept any applications for it. Part of what Saline ran against was they ended up getting drawn into a court battle because of improper trying to exclude them. They didn't have the proper zoning classification. They had it in their master plan, but no openings for it. It got into quite a complicated mess. What the MTA suggested at their seminar was their legal people that townships create a ordinance to allow moratoriums on any special land use or new land use, and such as data centers was the example. And what they want to do is you have an ordinance that allows you to place a moratorium on any new coming in special land use. And you have a designated term that it can be, such as ours is cannot exceed 12 months. So it's spelled out ahead of time. The language is all there ahead of time, and it provides for one extension. Our ordinance will of up to 6 months. And normally, if you go to put a moratorium on something, you have to do it like an ordinance. You have to have a public hearing for it, like at our level. Then it has to go to the board of trustees. We have to vote on it. The board of trustees has to vote on it. Then the moratorium has to be posted for 30 days before it can take effect, which creates a window of opportunity when somebody gets word that you're doing this. The idea behind the ordinance is this ordinance will allow the board of trustees to put a moratorium on any special land use by resolution, which means they can just at a meeting say, okay, we're going to put a moratorium on data centers. They pass it at their meeting, then it's good. We don't have to schedule public hearings, all the publications, all the waiting period and stuff. It speeds up the process. And the moratorium ordinance will stay on the books till we remove it, as far as being able to do it. So they could put, I'm gonna throw it out. They could put a moratorium on a data center by resolution. They could put a moratorium on battery storage systems by resolution, because we have not had any permits come in. They could put a moratorium on,
Landfills, nuclear.
landfills,
Nuclear
anything,
reactor.
you know, they could put a moratorium on a consumer power plant, just conceivably, you know, because you haven't had, a site plan submitted yet. Anything you haven't had a site plan committed, put it on. If they feel it's coming, they could put a moratorium on it. And the MTA legal people felt that this would stand up, this process this way will stand up better to a court challenge than the previous processes have, because previous moratoriums have been challenged in court and people don't always succeed. We've only done one that I recall, and that was when we were doing solar. And they were skeptical, the attorneys were skeptical about even doing that and extending it. But this has a provision, that it goes for 12 months, it may not exceed 12 months. And the resolution may provide for one extension of the moratorium for up to 6 months. So we could have an 18-month window. And this allows us to develop a data center ordinance restrictions, or, you know, like Gary said, you know, nuclear power plant restrictions, anything that we want to restrict, that we don't get caught off guard. And I only know of one other township at this time for sure that did already institute this. But I did run all this by Attorney Gilder and worked with him, and he came up with this ordinance. And I've already run it by Caitlin at Wade Trim. She hadn't heard of anything like that yet. But this is still all new. MTA was supposed to come out with a model, their legal people, and they have not posted that yet on their site. But other townships are doing just regular moratoriums, so we're going one step better maybe. And like I say, this speeds up the process immensely. So that's basically what we're looking at. There is a copy on the counter. There's been a copy on the counter for the last couple of weeks. It's not overly complicated. If you want, I can read it. It's only really just a little more than one page. But I'll take a shot at it here anyway. How about it's an ordinance to amend Article 14 of the Township Zoning Ordinance by adding a new section 14-24 regarding moratoriums. The Township of Thetford ordains Section 1, amendment of Article 14 of the Township Zoning Ordinance. The Township Board hereby amends Article 14 of the Township Zoning Ordinance by adding thereto a new section 14.24 entitled Moratoriums to read as follows. And it'll be section 14.24, moratoriums. Moratorium by resolution. The Township Board by resolution may impose a temporary moratorium upon the review or issuance of any and all applications, permits, rezonings, licenses, or approvals for specific special or other new or emerging land uses in the township if the Township Board desires to review, enact, or amend provisions of the master plan or zoning ordinance to regulate specific, special, or other new or emerging land uses that may impact the health, safety, or welfare of township residents and property. That's a lot of legal speak for me. Number 2 is purpose and findings. The resolution must state the purpose of the moratorium and include findings of the Township Board in support of the moratorium. 3, the length of the moratorium. Any resolution adopted pursuant to this section must specify the length of the moratorium, which may not exceed 12 months. The resolution may provide for one extension of the moratorium by resolution for up to 6 months. 3, notice. Notice of the resolution must be published within 7 days of its adoption. The notice must include the following: a summary of the resolution's effect, the length of the moratorium and whether an extension is possible, where the public may inspect the resolution enacting the moratorium. And the rest of it's just the effective date shall take effect 30 days following publication, blah, 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 blah. That's for this ordinance, takes 30 days to go into effect after it's passed by the board of trustees and published in the paper. That's pretty much the body of it. The rest
That
is-
document you're reading right there, what is that? Where's that from?
This ordinance here?
Yeah.
This is drafted by Attorney Gilmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He did tell me that he attended a meeting. He didn't specify what municipality he was, in the audience of that did draft one of these, and pass it at their meeting. So there is one out there someplace. I don't know who has it. But I know that he was, once I started explaining what he had, he was familiar with one and then he researched it from there. So this is
So
his-
he created that based
He
on
created
input
it.
from other things.
Yeah,
I wonder where that 12 months comes from. I wondered if he just took that as kind of a common number.
Yeah.
What he was seeing.
Yeah,
I wondered about that because I initially thought maybe it would be 6 months with a 6-month extension.
Well, no,
well, it's not to exceed 12 months, so it
Yeah.
leaves a variable that the board can,
Then they'll leave you 18 months then if you can go 12 months and then.
yeah, it could be a total of 18 months. This is what they felt would
No,
withhold,
I like it. I'm just
you know.
curious how you got there.
The problem when we went through the solar one, the comments that I heard was the cautions of, if you keep extending it and extending it and extending it, then somebody's gonna file a suit that says you're just trying to stall them. So this specifies, you know,
It's interesting, I think, that in the number 1, that you can do this moratorium after you receive the application,
yeah,
which I thought was unusual. I thought, oh, I would have to have the moratorium in place prior to the applicant. But this does not read that way unless I'm reading it incorrectly.
that's the way I read it also, so.
Are you open for input on this?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if you should do the public hearing first and then we should discuss it.
Yeah, so let's open the public hearing. This idea of being able to do more. From anybody want to make a comment on the ordinance that we're talking about? Any thoughts or ideas? Stephanie, go ahead. You can talk from your seat if you. I think you're really more comfortable.
I mean, to me, it sounds really good. Just as far as what you mentioned about you don't have to worry about it until an application comes in, I think that that's a really good feature, just from the standpoint that one, you don't know what's gonna come in, maybe nothing's gonna come in, right? So giving that period of time, I think that would be enough to set up an ordinance for these things, because things are changing so fast and so dramatically. Even setting an ordinance right now for data centers, these would be completely different 6 months, because right now everybody's talking about like closed loop system versus open loop system. There might be a completely different system when one of these application actually comes in. So to me, it makes a lot of sense with something emerging. To not worry about it until you know the time frame that you're working on, the technology that you're working.
Yeah, this is pretty much the way that standards seem to be going. You actually can get an application for wind of one coming, and like I say, then the board can jump together and put a moratorium on it.
And that actually, Kevin, is the beauty of this, because now we won't have to come back to the planning commission. If we want to do it, we could enact it at any meeting.
The board of trustees can,
Yeah,
we could request if we feel there's something coming, we can go to the board of trustees and say, hey,
Yes.
you guys need to act
Yes.
for us.
And that could even be brought at a special meeting. If
Yeah.
we thought it was like, we should do this now, we could do a special meeting. And by resolution, adopt that immediately. So anyways, I'm sorry, go ahead. It's still in public comments. We should.
Yeah. Anybody else? Sure, go ahead, sure.
Yeah, I agree with the ordinance. It makes sense, especially in light of the solar and the data centers. I mean, I follow it too. I see what's going on. I think it's a wise decision. Keep in mind that I've voted for policies here before that sometimes often get used on me. Okay, so I just want to make sure that, keep in mind, of any potential of abuse of it, you know what I mean? I don't wanna see this used all the time for every little thing that comes up. But I think for solar and for data centers, I think it's a good idea.
Well, this will be something that's controlled by our 7 elected officials. Planning won't have any say on the moratorium other than we could just request the board to do one or something that we see coming or we hear is coming before us. And it would be up to the board to make the decision. You know, so I'm glad you're here to hear it tonight and John's here to hear it because you're gonna be the people that, when this gets to the next level, are gonna have to maybe interject to the other 5 what they're looking at. I did, for everybody's knowledge, at this last board meeting, I did give our 7 board members a copy of this to look at in advance. To let them know that it was gonna be our topic tonight. And that we would like to perhaps recommend it to them tonight so that they can move it up to the next level at their next meeting, which would be coming the 1st of April. So that we don't sit on this too much longer. I don't anticipate Caitlin looked at it, Attorney Gilder drafted it, unless we see something devastatingly wrong with it. I don't anticipate any changes, you know, to the draft that's here. Any more public comment before I get too far along? I'm sorry.
And obviously, it's too late to put a moratorium on solar fields.
Yes. We can't do that.
And we did, and that's gonna tie in when Kevin opens it up to the rest of us here on our comments, and I'll hit on that.
Okay, no more public, let's close public comments then. Okay. Discussion, that's where we're at next.
So on this topic, I think it's realistic, it's fantastic. And Eric, I appreciate your comments. I don't view this as a mechanism to slow roll advancement or progress in the township whatsoever. Here's, and I'll intersperse some short-term experience with this. There's only 5 of us. There's 7,000 residents of 24,000 acres and a lot of families that we're trying to be responsible for and trying to do responsible and make productive, responsible decisions. We only have so much land and there's only 5 of us. We know, we know what we know, and there's a lot of stuff we don't know. So when you need pause, when somebody's coming with an idea, and I'm not talking about something we're all familiar with, somebody's coming with a gas station proposal to be down here on the corner and well, we need a moratorium for here. We know about gas stations, we can address that. But when companies come with something that's new, that's never been here before, that's big, that's impactful, and they're chomping at the bit and saying, here it is, come on, approve it, let's go. I'll come up with one of my cheesy analogies. That's like someone coming to you and saying, Eric, I got a great idea. I need $1 million and I need it by midnight and we don't have time to mess around. Let's go, 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 give it to me. You may get your money back, you may not, but let's hurry. You want a 12-month moratorium to find out what the heck he's talking about before you turn over $1 million to him, right? Well, in this solar, we got a lot of pressure. We didn't know. We've learned a lot. And we needed some time. They're coming in and saying, hey, we want to use most of your available remaining land to put solar panels on. It could have just as easily been somebody with landfills or junkyards or something else. They just happened to come first. And they said, here it is, let's go. What's taking you so long? Whoa, wait, it's not just our township. We got a bunch of other people that we need to talk to, including mainly the residents, and get some input. So we needed time. So we asked for a moratorium. We weren't slow rolling. We were giving ourselves, our learning curve on this subject over the last 3 years has been a 90-degree angle. Okay. And in fact, we've learned that advances in solar technology If we had another 1 year or 2 year moratorium, it's probably gonna require about 40% of the footprint of what they're asking for now. Being pressured to cooperate and play nice and move along, it's frustrating. But when somebody comes and says, hey, I want to use the remainder, whatever's not in solar and put landfills, come on, I need a decision by midnight. We need to talk to the residents. We need time. We meet once a month. We don't meet every day. This isn't our full-time jobs. We need time. 12 months goes pretty fast. And we're going to scramble and educate ourselves on the topic. What's the impact? Before we just immediately say yes and find out that we got duped because we didn't ask the right questions. It's the same, it's batteries, it's data centers. It's a long list of things. They come, their knowledge level's here, ours is here. We need 12 months to get close to them. That's all. I'm 100% in favor for this and would like to accelerate whatever we can do to get it implemented. Those are my comments.
Jason? You put a lot of work into it, for sure. Turned out really good, I think. Like I said, I agree with 100% too. Mr. McConnell, what are you next?
Yeah, this is great. We don't know a lot about it, so it's nice. I do feel like we've been beating up solar for like 5-6 years, but obviously this could take 5-6 years to beat it up because we don't know. I just looked it up. There's less than 1,000 battery energy storage systems in the world. Okay, world. You know, there's 10,000 solar, over 10,000 solar fields. So that's a little bit, we kind of know what to expect there. But with this battery energy storage, we don't. So let's go ahead and learn.
John?
No, it's good. I think we should expedite it as much as possible, and I'm thankful on the board to have a tool that I can use when right now I don't have much in my tool chest. So I would say we should do whatever it takes. If that means adopting that today, we should to go forward.
Okay. That being said, I would figure out how to word my motion here. I will make a motion that the planning commission recommend to the township board consideration of the ordinance to amend Article 14 of the township zoning ordinance by adding a new section 14.24 regarding moratoriums. And I'll just leave it at that. And Amby is the very top line of the ordinance length, if you've got a copy of it.
That's your motion.
That'll be the motion. We recommend it. That's because that's what we're gonna do. We can't necessarily pass it on our own. We recommend that the township board.
And we're gonna take a vote, right?
And we will take it.
I second it.
And we will take a roll call vote, ladies.
And it won't actually get a number until the board adopts it, and then it'll have an ordinance number.
Right.
John Condon,
Yes.
Jason McConnell,
Yes.
Jason Tarno,
Yes.
Gary Tilson,
Yes.
Kevin Lawrence.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
5-0. Okay, we will pass this on to our board of trustees for their consideration. Hopefully at their next meeting. I believe this will make a considerable difference in bias of a lot of time. Once they get to the resolution part of it, once it's in effect. But it will take 30 days to get in effect, so. I don't anticipate anything terrible happening in the next 30 days, but. Who knows where it gets out, strange thing. With that being said. That's the end of our official business. We can open public comments from the floor again.
Hello, when I'm here, actually, what I wanted to talk about was about the consumer's gas plant that was just announced, which I'll say I don't know what to feel about one or the other, But what I do recognize, if it does, sounds like it's one of these processes, once again, that goes through Michigan Public Service Commission, but the township has a role in a similar manner to what we're saying with P 233, and get a community hosted agreement. You get some say, you're an intervener, so you have the opportunity to at least shape some aspects of what happens. But just from my little bit of research on it so far, gas plant like that would bring thousands of jobs in terms of construction and hundreds of permanent jobs, tax benefits that sound, I don't know, 20 times, 30 times greater than anything we'd see from solar, maybe more than that, because it was saying it's like $1 million a year. So a lot of big tax benefits. What I imagine in a future, assuming the planning commission, the board also think it might be a good idea. We would have people wanting to move here, right? We'd have people wanting to start businesses here. There'd be aspects, where people want to live where they work. So, what I'm thinking about is with our solar proposal, taking 2,000 acres of undeveloped land, that just seems very short-sighted. And this gas plant, nobody had that on their radar, I don't think, until a week or two ago. So I just think it's a really important thing to bring up to Michigan Public Service Commission from the township's viewpoint. I know that starts with planning commission in a lot of cases, especially because you are so concerned with the land use. Just again, imagining a future where that potential is there. It sounds like consumers doesn't official announcement with it until June. And that falls right in the middle of this whole process we're going through with P 233. Super important. And I imagine Michigan Public Service Commission is aware of the idea because there's only 2 of these plants being proposed in all of Michigan. I mean, this plant sounds like it's like the size of a nuclear power plant. It's like 1.3 gigawatts. So just in terms of like, if you have to pick, that one looks like it would have a better economic impact in the long term for us. Additionally, there's a executive order that Governor Whitmer put forth in 2019 regarding environmental justice. And the idea of this executive order was that no community should be overburdened, and it specifically talks about energy. So in a way, it's like people have said about doing your fair share. Well, the gas plant seems like we'd be doing more than our fair share for the state, right? So it really needs to be brought into context about, solar burden along with gas plant burden, maybe best burden. There's a certain point that we would become this industrial complex. And I don't think that's the intention of Michigan's Public Service Commission. I think they do want to distribute burdens. So I think that, bringing those sorts of land use issues that maybe the planning commission could imagine. As I said, just for me, I'm just thinking about housing and businesses alone. But you might think of others, especially in the case right now. I think it'd be just really pristine opportunity to bring that up and fitting with our master plan.
So Stephanie, before you go. That's excellent. This executive order 2019, not the overburden, share the pain, distribute, everybody take a little bit. I don't know where we're at on this gas plant. I gotta do some research. Has anyone else
Just
heard
heard
much
about it
about it?
tonight.
It's just proposed a week
What's
ago.
going on there?
At what point of something of that size and scale? Does that fly right over the township, or at what point is the township? It's in our township. At what point does the township get involved, or is this on a whole different level?
It sounds a lot like PA 233.
It does.
Yeah.
And they already involved the supervisor and to let them know that their intent. I think Kevin's kind of familiar with that meeting as well.
Yeah.
And, but the site that they're proposing used to be a oil fire generating plant. They tore all the equipment out to get rid of the personal property about 10 years ago. About 6 years ago, they proposed this same plant and quite conveniently run that natural gas pipeline goes right through there. It's right there. So yes, they abandoned it then, said that they were going to do it in Ohio, but now they're back And I would be extremely surprised if that didn't go because the infrastructure is all intact. You got the high tension lines, you got the supply. All you have to do is put the new equipment in and they already own the site.
Where is this?
Where the staging area was, the Genesee and Dodge Road, when they did the pipeline. They cleared that, flattened that all out.
Genesee and Dodge on the corner there sitting back.
Yeah,
But the plant itself is fenced in. You can see it from the road, but it sets back. But they own
They
that.
were using that almost as a construction site.
They were using that for a
Also
staging area.
commercial area front.
But that isn't actually where the plant is. They just own that too. And I've heard that someone has purchased another 10 acres adjacent to that.
On the corner of Irish and Dodge, which from that corner would be exactly 2 miles east, same latitude, is a plant on the corner right there. Is that, I don't even, embarrassed to say, I don't even, what is that plant? Is that a gas plant? Is that a?
It's some sort of gas because I
Natural
hear them
gas.
purge that and that's
I think
really
it's
loud.
Booster plant,
Yeah,
or
that's-
something for the gas pipeline.
Yeah, I think
It's
that's
a different pipeline, different company.
I think that's a pumping station, it needs a
Yeah.
bump, it needs a push.
So this proposal on the corner of Genesee and Dodge is magnitude larger
Oh.
than that.
It's actually a generating plant.
How many acres are on that corner?
I don't know what they own there, but
And quite a
that-
bit in that whole.
that
section
whole,
back there.
the whole old power plant's completely fenced in and they own that staging area to the left that you're familiar with. It's a lot.
They own all the way to Genesee Road.
Yeah, so they own all that frontage too. They claim that this will be just to fill in demand times. But I don't know what the kilowatt is, but it's a lot. It can generate a lot of power. And I don't remember what it was.
Well,
Just to say a little more about the executive order, there's actually a demand that local governments can probably make because part of that executive order created the Office of Environmental Justice, and there's advocates that are associated with the Attorney General's office that need to do things like evaluate, okay, how much burden are you putting on this community? Because a gas plant, I think, will be benefits, but there's burden too. Might be more transmission lines, there could be more pipelines, and then on top of it, solar, and then, like I said, there's this aspect of housing. Where you gonna put these workers? Why should other communities benefit from that? Why shouldn't our community benefit from that? So just something to think about for,
outstanding.
yeah.
That's very.
Yeah, it's actually potentially could be good news for us in the from an income standpoint. We're very fortunate in this township that, we don't have any mills on for roads, no mills on for police, no mills on. We draw 0.899 for a fire or whatever it is, 99 under a mill. No, your operating cost. We're very fortunate to be able to still do roads. And I think this is going to be very beneficial for us. Far more than the solar.
Well, create some jobs that'll keep people here and a
Absolutely.
young family can raise their family here and buy a house and have a good.
You know,
future.
I don't know how many jobs you may know, Kevin, when it's done, but to build it, it's going to be a huge
Like you said,
input.
it's thousands and then there's
Yes,
hundreds.
of tradespeople that are going to be camping out here doing this job. So.
Yeah. Any other public comments? Good.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got off. Was we still on? I thought we were on board comments.
No, I'm stepping to
Oh,
this last
sorry.
one for public. But that's all right. We get the discussion all out. That's it. Works.
Yeah, no, I think you guys have done a good job. And I would support the ordinance, so.
Good job. Thank you, Eric.
That's it.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll close public comments. We'll go to board member comments. Now you can talk about the power plant.
No, believe me, if we've got to share the burden and share the pain, then I'm gonna get home and learn as much as I can about this, believe me. I've become a Google University expert. I'm gonna learn what I can, but if it's a sharing of burden, and Whitmer has pushed the executive order and said, hey, everybody's gotta do their fair share. That's our fair share.
Yeah, and that would be a valid argument because if you're having the plant and the solar, now that project isn't supposed to be operational till 31 though.
Right, it's a five-year plan, is what she stated. By the time they go through the design process, the approval process from MPSC and get everything in a row, they're looking at 5 years down the road before if there's any operational.
And I mentioned that because solar will be in the works a little ahead of that, won't it?
Well, we're gonna disclose this by June.
Okay, so,
I'm looking right.
yeah, there you go.
I'm looking right here at the whole, case U 21956 schedule, April 21st, staff and intervention testimony, rebuttal testimony in May. Motions to strike June 5th. They're gonna be well aware of it by then, and it should come right in the sweet spot of their decision making.
Oh, interesting.
Here. Nice. Feeling good.
Any more board comments, Gary? We'll roll with those.
Thanks,
Everybody's entitled to talk about the power plant on their board comment section, so that way we could keep moving along.
No, I'm all set. Thanks for bearing with me as I went through some of the details on that ordinance. It's a work in process, but I appreciate your patience and input on it.
Jason McConnell, I'm gonna go to you next. I'm gonna skip the order up a little bit.
Well, I got notes written all over the place, so bear with me. Some of the stuff I wanted to address, talking about it, like I'm hearing about the BES, and we're not really super familiar with it. Just a quick Google search sitting here. There's only 908 in the world. There's 46, looks like, oh wait, where am I right? Yes, there's 46 in the United States right now. And I think the fire thing, just quick Google, it's 0.3% of battery energy storage facilities have had a problem with fires. And I heard you guys mentioning some numbers that involve the fire department. And it looks like, just quick Google sitting here, that is something that is usually required under the Energy Commission or whatever it is, that, so these battery energy storage, the thermal runaway is the biggest concern, and it's very rare. There's only been 4 to 10 fires in 6 years. That's just quick Google sitting here, so take that for whatever. And then I was like sitting here and I'm like, we're weird about this with solar as well. There's 10,000 solar facilities in the world, and one out of 10,000 solar facilities, or 0.03%, has had a fire. So we're talking like, I'm saying it couldn't happen, 100% should be repaired. I agree with the fire department and the training and all of that stuff, because we don't want to be caught with our hands behind our back. But I mean, we're really talking about an extremely low number. And I don't know, maybe those 0.3, is that some other outside source? I don't know. So there's that. And then I think I might have mentioned this at the last meeting, and I want to apologize if I'm repeating myself, but my friend works for the Department of Labor and Economic Growth, and we jokingly call him a regulator. Whenever Consumers Energy wants to raise their rate, they have to come to them, and they have to ask for, they don't just get a rate, because it's like a monopoly, right? People know this. If you don't, consumers is like a monopoly. So when they want to raise their prices, they got to go to the regulatory commission and get this increase. So in March of 2025, they asked for 150. They ask for raises all the time, by the way, all the time. They don't get very many of them. In March of 2025, they asked for 153 million, or about $6.40 per resident, which isn't a whole lot, but they did ask for that raise and they got it. In November, they asked for 157 million. And they got it. I'm actually going to call my friend next week and ask him, what goes into that process. They have now proposed a $436 million, raise in consumers. I don't know if that's electric or gas or both. And the last thing I ever want to do is sit there and go, oh my gosh, these rates just keep going up. What can we do to stop it? Could we do more? I'm hearing about this power plant. I think that's amazing. Could we do more solar, which I know that just about everybody in this room is probably against. I'm not saying I'm never for it, but I am open-minded on things like that. That's really all I got to say. One more thing. Me and Eric were talking there, and the marijuana facilities coming. I don't know how many of you guys have all lived here. I've been here 25 years in Thetford Township, and when I first came here, I thought, wow, I like it. Podunk, we'll call it. I like it. I love it here. All those businesses on Door Highway were rotted out and falling apart. And so many people were against the marijuana. They were so worried about it. It came in here and now we get $550,000 a year in revenue for something that ended up, the boogeyman in the closet never, we haven't raised crimes actually went down in Thetford Township, it's went down in Thetford Township. So the boogeyman in the closet never came. We never had a bunch of crime. $550,000,000. And then I'm hearing this solar plant might bring some money to the area. The solar, I haven't confirmed this yet, but I believe somebody told me, and Kevin, you might know this, but they're and I don't even know anything. This minimum is this $350,000 a year that they're going to bring to the township. I don't know if that's for nonprofits. I was reading something about this. I'm going to try to get more data on this. I don't want to shoot from the hip on it. I'll bring it to the next meeting. But where this money is coming to these nonprofits where they're going to donate this. So I don't know. Is there personal property tax on it? Like, I don't know any of that. We haven't even dove into that part yet. But sorry for my long-winded comments, but I just know we'll sit there and go, why does Consumers Energy keep raising their price? Well, because we keep telling them no on windmills. We keep telling them no on solar. Keep telling them no on, power plants or whatever they want. And I love hearing about this executive order. I'm going to research that because I think you're absolutely right. We can't do both. If you're going to put in this beautiful big power plant, fine. Then that's going to limit the amount of solar. I'm okay with that too. So I'll stop blabbing.
Nice.
Jason, we'll go to you next.
I don't have much to say, but thanks for coming out tonight and it's put a good order together, so it's definitely put your time in. No, that's all I really got.
Well, now just because Jason brought up the marijuana, I do have to tag on that a little bit that that's one of the reasons we have not had to ask the residents for more money. Because had we not had that filler, you wouldn't be doing 3 miles of road a year. You would have had, you just would have had to. We would have had to try to get more money. So that is actually why we have it. And if the power plant comes in, we'd be very fortunate to be able to operate out here under what we operate under. So pretty amazing. And I'll admit, Vienna Townships, I can't really call her their secretary. I'll call her their AA. Every time I'm in there, it gives me crap. For the marijuana, she says you get 50,000 for every one of them. What are you whining about? I know. So it's interesting that people notice that and Vienna had that opportunity and chose not to choose it at that time. So
But I got something else. Jason, this is probably going to come across as critical. Doing a couple of minutes of Google research during the meeting. Of course. No, I'm not saying I've been trying to be smart about it. But I mean, there's, and you Google anything, there's 2,000 things. Whoever pays the most money gets theirs to come to the top. So that's the first thing that you're going to read. And let's not lose sight of the fact that Kevin Lawrence did a couple months worth of extensive research and calculation on the impact to our millage, our tax base, our fire, and all that. And it was overwhelmingly negative. So let's not lose sight of that. I gotta believe that power plant generating productive jobs in here would offset any of that $350,000 by a huge multiple.
Yeah, in talking about the taxes with solar, I did a comparison with saline. Washtenaw Solar was required by the MPSC to do an itemized amount statement of what each entity in that township was going to receive based on a 15-year plan. And saline, their solar plant is a little bit larger than the one proposed for here. Their operational millage is a little bit less than what we collect. My calculations for us is that Thetford will realize on a tax basis about $33,000 a year is it from the solar plant once it's up and running.
All 2,100?
Pardon me?
2,100 acres?
Yes, the entire thing based on the total megawatt when it's up and running at full megawatt is going to be about $33,000 a year. what they preach on their PR is the total amount that they're gonna generate for Genesee County. Now, you have to take that into account of everybody's little handout that's in the pot to take that money. And what I discovered also is that they do not pay personal property tax.
Yeah.
They're exempt from it. So all their solar panels, their racking, the only thing they're taxed on is the structural buildings in the ground itself. They have to pay a fixed amount based on the megawatt output of the plant. But that's figured into what their total is they're giving to the county. This is all a cumulative total. And like I say, they broke down for Saline because Saline has a fire millage. They broke down the school millages for the district of Saline Township, what each school district is going to receive. And they start out with their basis for their personal property. I'm trying to think, I want to say it was $700 per megawatt of output is what their total payment is based on. And like I say, that's spread over the entire county. And when they did their chart in Saline, they specified the county millages, the school millages, the township millages. Saline does one for roads. They have a millage for fire. If we had all that, we would get more money out, more share, but we don't have.
Nope.
So all we have to rely on is our operational millage, which is less than a mill. And it comes out to about $33,000 a year. The flip side of that that's not mentioned either is that after 15 years, they depreciate those solar panels. At the end of 15 years, their depreciation is 12% of the total value. They're depreciated down to 12%. So your income after 15 years drops down to about $11,000 a year is all you're getting out of that solar park for the remaining 20, 30 years, whatever it runs after that. They're really good at their numbers, but you got to dig into those numbers to actually get. They're not going to tell you exactly what you're going to get. Why MPSC requested that out of Washington Solar, I don't know. I wish they would do it for here because they said in a meeting they're going to treat every case equally. I'm waiting to see that happen. I have not seen that happen yet. But this is all information that's available through the MPSC docket sites. You can pull up Saline's figures. I don't know. I'm at a loss. And to flip the coin to the gas power plant, I did sit in a meeting with Consumers Power when they came here, and they do anticipate about 5 years to get it up and functional. There is, granted, yes, there's gonna be a lot of construction jobs coming in. They have locals that they will be hiring for excavating work and stuff that they can. They're gonna have some specialty people come in, just like they did the pipeline. Some of their welders and stuff for their turbines that they have to bring in specialty people. The lady talked about trying to house them because there's no motels here. The suggestion come up, when we can get them rooms up to Birch Run, and maybe Frankenmuth. And I brought up to her that the Lear family housed the pipeline workers right here locally that kept them in the area. I don't want to take, and I had to be in a township supervisor sitting there too. And I said, I don't want to take money away from his restaurants, but I'd rather have them go over here to B&B Market or run down here to Genesee and get something, out of McDonald's than run over here to this side of town. If we get them, if the Lear family would still come up for the campground. And I said, I believe Eugene built quite a place back there. If it's still intact and the Lear family was willing to go into a contract with Consumers again. The rep that was here, the one rep, she's familiar with the guy that set the gas pipeline contract up here. So she was going to reach out to him. So I'm trying to keep some of those workers here in the township, to at least help our merchants out, locally, wherever they'll go. Another thing that was brought up that would be to our benefit, there's benefits that may come out of this. we questioned, water requirements, because there's no water line out there that they're gonna need. They were willing to look into, extending the water line from Francis and Genesee Road, I believe is the corner, down Genesee Road to the site. You know, this was something they would take into consideration.
Put in the fire hydrants.
You know, well, it'd be fire hydrants, it'd be municipal water for any residents.
Well, see, then, once you got city water down there, back to the development side, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, are not interested in having a well and LP.
Yeah,
But when you get natural gas and sewer, it's a whole different game. I mean,
Yeah.
from your standpoint, even from real estate side.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Consumers Power historically has always been a good neighbor. They've never really, to my knowledge, you know, been quite the same as what I view some of the other businesses that I see coming into this township. You know, they're always really generous on anything. They support the community and they'll bend over backwards. I don't know how many familiar when the pipeline went through. They had to sign a contract and I don't know, I can't tell you how many miles of road we got repaved at Consumers Energy's cost.
Yeah.
I do know personally, my road was cracked because it was the main road from Vienna Township to Laqueur School. And consumers at the end, when they come in, they completely tore out the entire road, regraded the road bed, brought in a load of limestone, spent a week packing it down and having us drive on it. Then they brought in another load of limestone, then another week packing it. Then they paved over top of that.
50-year warranty.
And we got a tremendous road, and they did Lewis Road from Hurd to Vienna the same way, because that was their trucking road. So I've got a road that'll probably last the rest of my life.
50-year
you know,
warranty.
On that road, and they repaved, I believe they've done some of the paving on Lewis Road where they had the pipeline. They did Dodge Road, they've redone Genesee Road, I believe, all at no cost to the township. So, you know, they're pretty good neighbors to have, in my opinion. Well, I'm looking forward to working with them. They will have to come to us for site plans and stuff like that. So, I mean, we'll be involved in the construction process. So hopefully, as time goes on, we'll learn some more in regards to consumers. One more topic to jump away from that. Last night, there was a data center conference information seminar down at the Riverfront Center. I attended it with these 5 Friday speakers that were there. And all of them love data centers. We had a representative from Consumers Energy, the county drain commissioner was there to give his speech. Representative Martin was there, a lady from an economic group that praised all the money that's going to come from data centers locally and statewide, and just tremendous numbers coming up there. It's hard to believe, but it was a 2-hour, quite a 2-hour show. On the counter up here, though, there was a group in the back of the room that does not like data centers. And they were handing out pamphlets to everybody. So I did make contact with them after the meeting. And there's some of their literature here if you wish it. And get some good information on data centers. So I left them my information to maybe communicate with us some of the stuff they have, and we'll share information with them as data centers go on. So other than that, I don't have any more. Anybody, anything else they want to throw out after listening to me ramble on?
It's just a motion to adjourn. I mean. Oh.
Second by Jason, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Okay. Sorry, I want to get from the next way.
No, it's good meeting, very informative.
And we'll have to, we'll look at 15. We were next to the house. Yes.
Yeah, that's a concept.
Next meeting.
What are you doing?
And you're right, but
They give me a call and talk to.
was lungs and everything else, because
Can you do any other?
not only our property, but like